Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Keith. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. I'm good. I think we're on segment 6 of Nancy's Nourishing Kitchen. Eat well, no crazy. And I'm Keith Fiveson, for those who don't know me. And we're doing this for the Center for Wellbeing, but also for everyone's well-being as we start taking a look at eating nourishing foods. And we have a really exciting segment, I think, more so because of where we are now at this time of the year. We're at May. Is it May 15th already?
The 14th.
The 14th. Tomorrow's the 15th. So
Yes.
we're really hitting that point where we're in spring for sure, and then we're hitting summer. So what's the topic for today? And tell people what we're going to be hitting, Nancy.
The topic for today is eating with the seasons and farmers market finds. So we're going to talk about the benefit of eating in season. And then now on Long Island especially, but I think all across the country, all the farmers are gearing up and the markets are going to be open. And so we're going to talk about the benefits of eating food that we can get right now as opposed to stuff you see in the supermarket all year round. And why it's
Right.
good for us for a lot of reasons.
Now I know you're a wonderful culinary chef, and you've got this kind of background. And I know a lot of chefs talk about farm to table and the advantages of that. So what are the advantages of eating in season, and what's that all about?
Well, basically, eating in season is, I like to say, eating in harmony with nature's rhythms is the best way to think about it. So we're healthier when we eat in season because nature gives us what we need at this moment in time. So just because produce is in season somewhere doesn't mean it's good for us now. So I always think about when you see strawberries in January, tomatoes in January. First of all, they're very expensive. Second of all, they look pretty, but they don't taste good. And we don't need those kind of foods in the winter. So it really is eating foods that are great for us at this moment in time. Just for example, like it's spring now, the days are getting longer, it should be getting warmer, but you're seeing a lot more, and this goes to whether you're seeing it in the farms or in the supermarket, you're seeing a lot more leafy greens and dandelions and asparagus and baby radishes. And those are the foods that we need now as we transition from spring into summer, more lighter foods than we did over the winter. It gives your body what you need at this moment in time.
And one of the things that I was just thinking about when you were talking about that is a lot of folks are talking about building up their immunity systems and what that's all about. And I read an article about many people are lacking vitamin D. So as we start moving into the spring or the summer seasons, are we going to, and the vegetables and the things that you just mentioned there, a lot of those sound like they're filled with vitamin D, a lot to help us build our immune system. Is that true?
Well, vitamin D, there's vitamin D in some foods, but honestly, vitamin D is very hard to get from food. You have to eat a lot of it, like in huge quantities. So you usually get vitamin D from the sun and from supplements. I leave the supplement, to the doctors who are much more educated on that subject, but you really get your vitamin D from the sun. I have a list, I have to find it, of some foods that do have vitamin D in it. I know mushrooms do, but you really need to eat them in large quantities. What you do get from the produce now is all the other colorful vitamins and minerals, the C, the B vitamins, all the other things we need to boost our immune system too.
Got it. So just eating food doesn't necessarily give you the vitamin D, but going out in the sun, and then there are supplements. And then, of course, at this time of the year, as the weather starts to warm up a bit and the sun is out, it's great to go ahead and do some shopping and look at foods that are colorful and foods that are in season. So
Absolutely.
that's really what you're talking about.
Exactly. And even as far as the sun, you don't need to go out and bake in the sun for hours upon hours. 10, 15, 20 minutes a day. When you go out for a walk on the sunny side of the street. Use sunscreen, but maybe don't put sunscreen on your arms or your hands so that you just get some vitamin D naturally. But you don't need, to spend hours with, baby oil on the skin hanging on the beach. Just 20 minutes a day of walking outside in the sun will help for sure.
Great, perfect. And then you can build up a little appetite for some of the food that awaits you at home to go ahead and cook. So you've
Absolutely.
got some ideas around that. You had mentioned leafy greens, asparagus, and baby radishes before. And then moving into the summer a little bit more, what are some of the other things we should be looking at as you start talking about this seasonal approach?
Okay, so seasonal approach, you think about the seasons, right? It's hot in the summer. So all fruits and vegetables contain water, but we need to be hydrated. So you think about all the summer vegetables. Strawberries are going to be starting to come out in June on Long Island. All the berries, the melons, the summer squashes, all those foods are filled with water and they hydrate us, which is what we need in the summer. You don't need to be as hydrated in January. There, everything's more drier, so you're looking at more moistening foods. The heat's on, we're dry. So we still need to hydrate, but that's what it really means about being in seasons. I also like to think about how foods grow. Think about the lettuces, the radishes, the asparagus. Like, I don't know if you can see, but it's like everything is growing up and out. And anybody that knows, the minute it starts to get a little bit warmer, you could be outside with your coat on, but if that sun feels warm, watch. You'll see people just tilt their face to the sun to feel the warmth. Think about how food is grown. In the fall and in the winter, we're hunkering down, right? It's dark at 4:30. Everybody wants to put their pajamas on. You think about the root vegetables, the things that grow inward. So if you think about how food is grown, and you think about the temperature, it really makes eating in season easy to understand.
Wow, I like that visual. I like the idea of that. So as you start moving into the fall, you want to go ahead and have more root vegetables. Into the winter, it's sort of the cozy, the warm, the potatoes and the sauces and the very heavy stuff, if you will. But as we go into the summer, obviously, people are shedding their clothes and they're wanting to go ahead and embrace that sun a little bit more. Yeah.
Exactly. And you think about cooking preparations too. Last week we talked about, was it last week, marinades and grilling and things like that. So nobody wants to eat a roast or a really heavy soup when it's 80 degrees out. So your cooking preparation changes, more raw foods, the raw berries. If anybody's had a tomato on Long Island in August, you can eat it like an apple. We're grilling more salads, raw foods, lightly steamed and sauteed. Whereas in the winter, it's the heavier, like you said, the heavier, richer, more cozier foods.
Right.
So not only does food grow differently, but our cooking preparation changes as well.
Right. It's funny. I made a vegetarian chili over the weekend, and of course, it was a little chilly over the weekend as well. But then, as the weather started to heat up, it was sort of like, well, I don't think I want to eat this. It became more of a side little, desh, like you would if you had some guacamole or something like that with a main salad or something else. And that's how we wound up using it. It was great.
Right, exactly. Because even though it tastes good, you don't really desire it. Your body tells you what it needs in season.
Right, it's just a little too heavy. So how do we wind up using some of these? And when you shop the store, what I heard you talking about was, that like these, whether or not it's bananas or berries or whatever, they may be available all year round, but they don't necessarily have the punch that some of the other that they would have at this time of the year. So do we do the same kind of shopping? Is it a different kind of shopping process that we should be looking at? I know you're out there on the East End and you've got loads of farms, but I'm just sort of, from your view, how would our shopping change?
Price is probably your biggest indicator, right? So even though you may see butternut squash in July, it's going to be more expensive. So whereas the strawberries, say, and I'm picking on strawberries, but any kind of berry, say, or the tomatoes in January are always going to be more expensive. So you're going to find larger quantities at a cheaper price. And that's pretty much how you navigate the stores. So I remember, I don't know if it was last summer or the summer before, I was in North Shore Farms in Port Washington, and there was a woman who was speaking to the gentleman who runs the produce section. And she came back for these melons, and she was talking about how delicious they were and how cheap they were. And he just nonchalantly looked at her and said, well, they're in season. So, I mean, a quick Google search really could tell you what's in season throughout, the months. But in the supermarket, you're going to have brighter colors and cheaper prices because the quantity is there. So even though they can get strawberries in January, they're not coming, I don't even know if they're coming from California, or they're greenhouse grown. So
Right.
price and color and quantity are the things to look at in the store.
You know, that's so interesting because I think one of the other segments we had, you were talking about colors and how we're wired, we're all kind of wired for color. And, when you go in the store, you really want to sort of look at, what things are really colorful and what things really, and I think a lot of the manufacturers sort of design their products that way. But when you shop the outside of the store and you go to the produce section, you really can find some things that really burst with color, and you can use some of those things based on, and they're probably less expensive the more colorful the produce is.
Definitely when they're in season. And remember, in the winter, you're going to see them more browns and muted colors. But I mean, broccoli is gorgeous when you get it from the farm, or when you get it in the winter when it's in season, or in the fall. But you do get more of the muted, the browns, the mushrooms and stuff in the winter. But in the summer, you really need those phytonutrients. We talk about the colors. People ask me about calorie counts of stuff. I don't count calories, count your colors. The more variety you get, that's also what you'll see in the supermarket. You'll start to see a variety. And if you pick and choose and make sure you mix it up, you will get all the nutrition that you need.
Well, you reminded me of like we did the other segment on salads, about putting together a salad bowl. And now
Right.
I'm thinking, instead of like, the tomatoes and the things that we had talked about, like, throwing in strawberries or blueberries or other berries, and then adding in some of those wonderful other extras that you had. But I know you have some other recipes that you wanted to talk about today. So do you want to go there now, or was there something else you wanted to cover to make sure that people understood the seasonal approach?
Something else I wanted to cover was just about local, because on Long Island especially, and I can put on my website, Keith, or you can post it too. We're just blessed starting in June, especially, or when all the farmers markets usually come about. And I've been getting emails and stuff. One farmers market, I think, is not going to happen in Huntington because they've got a smaller parking lot and they're not able to social distance. But there's one in Roslyn at Christopher Morley Park that starts the first week of June every Wednesday. They've got a bigger parking lot and a bigger space, so they'll be able to accommodate what we're going through now. But there's the Long Island Farm Bureau and Local Harvest that you can just go to those websites and they'll tell you where you are, anywhere you're going to be, to find a local farmer's market.
That's Long Island, say it again.
Long Island Farm Bureau,
Okay.
www.lifb.com, and Local Harvest, localharvest.org.
Oh,
And we
cool.
can post those. But if you go to those websites, anywhere you are, but even if you're driving upstate, you can just throw something on the phone, farmer's market near me, and it'll tell you. Buying local keeps you in touch with the seasons. So I was just at my local farm the other day, and he had all different kinds of greens and asparagus. That's all they're growing now, but the hardier greens, the arugulas and stuff. So when you go to those farm stands, and you'll see week by week, there's always something new. And then come July, they're bursting with colors and textures and all the different things. So when you buy local, it naturally takes the guesswork out of it because you're keeping in season. I mean, we can't get everything locally, but it's a great start. Also, when you buy local, the vegetables are picked fresh, and ripe. So they're usually picked the day of or the day before. So even if something comes from California, it has to be picked under ripe so it doesn't spoil and it ripens in the trucks or the containers that it travels. Usually local is more affordable because there's less human intervention and there's less travel. So it's good for the environment too, a little less of a carbon footprint. And again, where we are, you really can find some kind of farmer's market or farm stand really almost anywhere. So that's an important thing. It doesn't have to be, but it makes a big difference, I think, in eating. And then again, I'm out here on the East End, so I'll give a little plug for open space and keeping pastures opened. And we're really supporting our local farmers who are trying to make a living. So it's good for our health, it's good for the environment, and it's good for where we live.
I like that. And the supply chain is local, so you're able to go ahead and get something, as you say, much, much fresher. So you were at the market this last week and you picked up asparagus and you were starting to talk about asparagus beforehand.
Right.
What do you, like I know asparagus is the only vegetable you can eat with your hand.
Yes.
And it's proper. I mean, it's the only vegetable you can pick up with your hand and you can eat it, right? That's what
Exactly.
they say. But
They say.
and you know and you dip it in hollandaise sauce, you
Mm.
know. But that's I don't do that. I mean, or you know, it's really good with dipping. You know, it's a crudité.
It's a crudité. I love asparagus. My kids will tell you when asparagus is in season, we have asparagus a lot in every way. So we're sharing a recipe for a creamy asparagus soup without the cream. So it's really just asparagus, some leeks, vegetable stock or water. And then, you can throw in parsley, thyme, a bay leaf just for flavor. And then you pull that out. They call that a bouquet garni in chef terms. And to make a soup,
That again, they call it a what?
a bouquet garni.
Oh, you always hit us with these wonderful phrases: power boosters, flavor profiles.
There you go.
I,
But
I
really,
can't even
just
I can't even repeat what you said. I'm sorry.
bouquet garni, right? A bouquet of herbs, basically. So it's usually parsley, thyme, and a bay leaf. You tie it in cheesecloth, throw it in, and then you sift it out. Yesterday, I made the asparagus soup with my daughter, and I didn't have any of those, so I just used a bunch of dried herbs that I had in my cabinet that you would do in a frittata. So you can mix it up. But the thing that makes this asparagus soup creamy, throw in like a quarter cup of rolled oats, and they will cook and disintegrate in the soup. And then when you puree it, either with a hand blender or in a regular blender, you have that. It doesn't taste like oats. You don't need a lot, a couple tablespoons. And it gives you that thick, rich, creaminess without having to add all the dairy. Another tip is you can either use some Arborio rice, which is what people use for risotto. So the starchy component makes it thick and creamy. And if anybody is avoiding grains, throw in a small potato, peel it, dice it, and it cooks with the vegetables. And then when you puree it, you have this beautiful, creamy, rich soup without all the added saturated fat and unhealthy stuff.
That sounds like something that I'd like to go ahead and toast some almonds with and throw on top of that for a little protein, of course. Yeah.
Throw a little protein on that. And remember, we always talk about texture and things. So you throw some of those almonds on it and you get like the little crisp bite with every sip of soup. This soup is wonderful chilled or hot. So I have actually served it at, parties, chilled soup in little shot glasses. So, you kind of have a little appetizer, or even if you're outside and, you're in the yard. Sometimes people don't want a big bowl of soup, but this is really wonderful served chilled as well.
Now, would you serve that, you wouldn't serve that as a main course. You'd serve that, maybe you'd serve it with a salad or you'd serve it with something else, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
And that would be it, pretty much it. With a little bit of protein, some salad, some soup, and you're done.
And you're done.
And in the summer months, because of the heat, you maybe serve it a little cool. You maybe throw on some toasted nuts, and then you've got a nice little thing going on.
Exactly. It's very satisfying. Toasted nuts, a sprinkle of hemp seeds, maybe. Whatever you're in the mood for.
Okay,
Pine nuts would be
don't
great.
get wild on us now with hemp seeds. Come on now.
I can share, I didn't even think about it, but like also with the asparagus, I don't think I shared it. Maybe I did earlier. I like to take this asparagus with roasted red peppers. So you can roast this asparagus, and then you can roast red peppers or get the jars and toss in some chickpeas or white beans. And now you have a beautiful colorful, rich, nutrient-rich salad, a little red wine and olive oil, and you have, again, you've got your protein, your fiber, your fat, and your protein all in one dish. And that's also a really simple thing to do with anything you have.
And then we got that Green Goddess salad dressing that you did. And all of these recipes are posted up on the UCC site, and they're also on your site as well, right?
Right,
And
exactly.
What is your website again, just so everyone knows?
It's nancysnourishingkitchen.com.
Nancy's with an apostrophe or just Nancy's with
Just
a
Nancy's, no apostrophe.
Nancy's Nourishing Kitchen.com.
Right.
Perfect. So everyone knows that everything's there. So with that, you've got 2 pounds of asparagus. That's a lot, right? You've got
It's 2 bunches, right? So 2 bunches.
2 bunches. You've got virgin olive oil. You've got some leeks, a half a cup of thinly sliced leeks. Wow, the leeks I find a bit challenging to find sometimes. Why is that?
I don't really know. I don't have trouble finding leeks. I
You don't.
usually see them a lot of places. They are actually starting to come out as a spring onion almost in the
Oh,
farmers
okay.
market, so you'll be able to find them as well. But I was able to get leeks in the grocery store out here in the IGA and also at one of the farm
Because
stands.
I think of like leek soup, and I think of like moving into potato leek soup, and then I go into fall and winter again, right? That's more of a fall winter thing. But here you've got the leeks mixed in with the asparagus, so that kind of heavies it up or brightens it up a bit.
It's an onion flavor. It's just a
Oh,
different kind of an onion flavor. So
right.
if you don't have leeks, believe me, it works with onions. It works with shallots. So any kind of an onion flavor. I like leeks. I slice them and wash them well and keep them in my refrigerator. And my kids will saute them and throw them into omelets or their eggs in the morning. So leeks are
Right.
pretty versatile.
Good.
And it's different.
I'll try to add those into our staples, if you will. We've got some things that have started to come into the staple neighborhood, you know.
Yes,
And then
exactly.
you've got your bouquet garnet, uh, and I'm not even going to go there. And some sea salt, some fresh chives, and then the hand blender. I have one of those. They're really wonderful, aren't they?
They're fantastic. My daughter was cooking with me last night. She actually made dinner. Fingers crossed she gets to go back to college in the fall, but she's going to be living off campus and cooking for herself. So we use the hand blender. They're not expensive, so you don't have to put it in a blender, and it's great. Like I send all my girls to college with them because
Yep.
it's an inexpensive, small tool that you can store and you get the job done.
And they wash up easy, and you're able to just put it away. It's just, you take it out when you need it, you throw it. It's not like a whole production with a traditional blender, right?
Exactly. It's easy to clean and it works the same way. Takes just a
Now,
little bit more time, but you're good.
sorry, I'm just was a little impatient here. I was looking at the strawberry rhubarb chia jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I actually saw, I didn't stop, but there was a farm stand down the block from me and he had asparagus out and he had rhubarb. So rhubarb is something else that we get to see this time of the year. It's around probably a little longer than strawberries. A lot of people think of strawberry rhubarb pie, which is delicious. But we had mentioned too in another segment briefly, about making your own jam. So I wanted to, I was thinking seasonal, right? Strawberries, rhubarb. So this is a strawberry rhubarb jam, which is really, really simple. You just cut strawberries, you cut rhubarb into slices, you throw in some lemon juice, and you just cook it on the stove until it gets all like mushy mashy. And then when you take it off the stove, you add in some maple syrup, which is you're not adding all that sugar, and chia seeds, which are easy to find, and they're a good source of plant protein and healthy fat. And as it cools, it thickens. I have here, if you throw in some thinly sliced fresh mint leaves, you can throw in basil if you want. You can mix up your berries. You want to go wild, throw in some grated ginger, use lime juice. But it's a basic recipe. It thickens as it cools. It freezes well. So I make a batch and then
Okay.
put it in small containers and freeze it. So we're still eating this. My girls have found some in the freezer from last summer. They're like, Mom, we still have this. So, and it gives you a burst of summer, but it's a different way to use something that is going to be in season literally at any moment.
Right.
And it's a change of pace.
I have a joke about rhubarb, but I'll save that for later. It's a joke that my dad used to tell, and it basically is, do you think that the hailstones will hurt the rhubarb? And then, of course, the response is no, not if they're in cans. So there you go.
But
But this is all about fresh fruit, fresh jam, and being able to go ahead and brighten up any meal by using it, not only breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but you can use the I'm sure you could use the rhubarb chia jam for some things that you might want to pop into your evening meal.
Oh, you could use it as a garnish. You could use it as a sauce on different vegetables. You know, you don't always have to have that savory stuff. It will brighten up anything. And if anybody's making a regular old peanut butter and jelly sandwich, use this instead of the jellies you get in the supermarket with all the additives and the extra sugar. I guess what I'm trying to say is you can use seasonal things and make them healthy. You're going to save yourself money and you're going to treat your body good.
Great.
You know,
That's great. So Google farmers markets, get out and get some sun, 20 minutes of sun. So stop isolating, go out in your car, find a market, put on your mask, and see if you can go ahead and not stay far apart if you can, but more importantly, get some fresh fruits and fresh vegetables so you can go ahead and enliven your plate and your palate. Great. So this is really good. So we're going to post all these things up here. We can open it up for questions, seeing if there are any questions from any folks that we might have. And if you're okay with that, Nancy, we'll do that now. Does anyone have a question that they'd like to ask? Yep. Patty?
Well, I'm afraid to go to a farmer's market now. I don't think I would go to Christopher Morley Park, even if I had a mask on, even if I had gloves on. I'm not going to go. I've been ordering, and I've been ordering from Our Harvest, which is also fresh, and I get deliveries.
yes.
But yeah, but I've been only walking around the neighborhood, and there's nobody out there. I'm very wary about this.
Well, that's very understandable. I order from Our Harvest too, so it's the same process though, or the same theory. You can still get your seasonal produce even if you're doing a delivery service, and you will find if they're using local farms from either Long Island or upstate, it's going to be exactly the same as if you went out yourself. So you think about how the food is grown and what we need now, and if you're able to get your food delivered, it's the same thing. You don't really want to get butternut squash now, but all those things will be available, and you'll even notice the prices will start to come down as things become in season. So you don't need to get out if it makes you nervous. I don't blame you at all. I think a lot of people are going to be a little wary as things open up.
Right. So I find that North Shore and these delivery services that are local, they're really providing some wonderful produce, and it seems always to be pretty fresh and not too pricey. So it seems like it's pretty good. Good question.
That's great.
The other night for dinner, Anna and I had, they had these huge mushrooms, like they were this big. So I made stuffed mushrooms, and that was our main dish was stuffed mushrooms, and it was delicious, really easy and delicious.
And you didn't save any for us, Patty? What's going on? You know, come on. You talk about it, but you don't share it. I get it. Okay. All right. That's good.
I'm very much missing being able to cook for friends.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And what did you stuff the mushrooms with, Patty, by the way?
With mushrooms?
With
Breadcrumbs? Yeah,
Oh,
mushrooms. Yeah. Yeah. It was very easy.
Great.
Yeah.
Mushrooms are very filling too. They provide that, meaty taste, texture, the satiety. So mushrooms are great. And mushrooms have some vitamin D in it.
That's great. I'm always getting these wonderful words from you. What do we've got? We've got bouquet, gourmet, and now we got satiety. I love that.
Satiety.
Satiety.
They feel full.
Yes, darling. I understand. Satiety. That's your part of satiety. So that's good. Any other questions? Phil, how are you doing with your barbecue over there?
Just talking about mushrooms, I am dying to buy some portobello mushrooms, marinate them, put them on the grill. I did make some caramelized onions the other day, Keith. They were absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
I
me too.
loved them.
Yeah.
And one thing that I made that came out spectacular, and my son devoured it, and it was a Asian crab salad, and I added Nancy's secret ingredient, the crunch, and goes, what are these things? And it was some noodles, and I used one of your recipes, the Asian dressing recipe, and I put a little extra dressing there, and he just devoured the whole. It was like a pound of artificial crab meat mixed with an Asian crab meat. It was gone in about 15 minutes, and it's like, you can save me some. And it was really a lot of fun.
Doesn't that make you feel good? It's another way to love, isn't it? I mean, food is love.
Food is love. Food is love. I agree.
Yeah, totally. That's great. That's wonderful. So this sounds really, really, really good, and I'm excited. We're going to take a little drive this afternoon. I think I told you we're going to take a drive along the North Shore, and now that with your idea, we'll do a little bit of Google and some reconnaissance and see if we can find some fresh vegetables to go ahead and berries and fruits to. I know we're still a little early, but you know, I have a little cabin fever, so I'm itching to get out. You know.
I think, and some of the little places I've noticed have, at least out here, have been very respectful. You know, one person in at a time or two people in at a time, and everybody's got the plastic. So people are trying to be respectful of everybody else's health. So you may get lucky and find some little open space place where you can shop with abandon.
Oh,
Now,
shop with
I do have one more question. Now, how do you wash your produce off? I mean, I sometimes use, like, okay, if it's grapes or strawberries, I really go crazy and use a few, well, just a little bit of soap, you know,
Right.
dishwashing soap. But what do you use?
I just use a mixture of, I have in a spray bottle a mixture of vinegar and water. And so when I bring things home, I wash everything down with that. And you can't do it with the berries, but I have a vegetable brush. And then I will, again, almost do like a double rinse. So I spray everything with a little vinegar and water, and then I wash it with a vegetable brush under the sink, other than the berries. And I haven't had fresh berries yet anyway. So those I really just do with water. I honestly don't know any science behind that, but it makes me feel a little bit better. I kind of use vinegar on my countertops and, you know, to clean anyway. So it's just one extra step, but just a little water, a vegetable brush and some elbow grease should really do the trick.
Oh my God, you know, between you and Patty, I mean, you both, Patty's got dishwashing liquid, you've got vinegar and water. You know, I'm taking the stuff back. I'm just rinsing it off with cold water. I like eat food off the floor. Come on, guys.
Patty,
Seriously. Seriously, where are you going to get your germs and your antibodies from? Come on.
This is true. Again, I don't always use the vinegar and water pre-COVID, but you know, I don't make me feel a little bit better.
Good.
Patty, I want to let you know, I have a friend that is very, very careful with her produce and vegetables and fruits. And I don't know the name of it. I'll try and get it and from her and maybe give it to you on Monday with the meditation with Keith. It's a special soap made specifically for fruits and vegetables.
Oh, great.
I'll check with her and see if I can get the name of it.
I'd love to hear about that, Michelle. I
Me
don't think
too.
I'll ever use it, but I'd love to hear about it.
Okay.
And Phil, you had a question?
It's nice to hear that we're not doing an overkill, because we'll wash the fruits and the vegetables with soap and water first. Then they go into a tub that has vinegar and water, and there's soap there. Then we take them out when we're ready to eat them, and we wash them again with the soap and water.
Oh, God. By the time you do all this, I'm so tired I can't even eat. Come on.
We have to give a day to prep the food.
Oh,
Just
goodness
clean it.
gracious. Now, at least it's not as bad as this one woman I know who's actually got I think it's a 10-to-1 or a 20-to-1 solution between water and bleach. Clorox.
Ah, no.
Oh,
Clorox.
No.
Like a 1
No,
to,
they say,
it's 1 to 10, 1 to 20, and then she does the bathe and then she does the rinse. So, you know, I don't know. I'm
no,
clear.
the stuff that my friend uses, I don't think has any chemicals or anything, because she uses all organic stuff anyway. All
Yeah,
organic fruit.
I'd like to
So,
know, Michelle. Thank
yeah,
you.
I'll send her. I'll give her a call or send her a text and ask her to give me the name of it. So
I think we have to
clearly
be
a
very
cowboy.
careful, Keith. We're in that group of people that are vulnerable.
Oh, thank you, Patty. Thanks for reminding me. That's nice. You're telling people that I'm over 60 years old and I have issues. I know I have issues. Never mind the psychological issues, but I have issues. That's all right. I get it. You're right. Thank you for your care, your kindness, and your patience with me. I can be a little bit too much. So
I think we all have to do what we think is best for ourselves. So
yes.
you know.
Yes. Well, you know
Bleach is not good.
well, that's a good segue. It's a really wonderful segue, Nancy, because you're really doing what's best for us with your kindness, your care, your recipes, your insight, and your wonderful, wonderful words, which many I have to look up after we finish our show. But you know, in all seriousness, all of this information can be found on your website, and people can find out more about you. And just as we close, give them a little bit more information. Again, what's your webpage, and what do you have on that webpage?
So my webpage is nancysnourishingkitchen.com. And actually there's a tab right on the front page for the center. And then if you click on that, it'll take you to everything we're doing. And I also add the links that you send so people can watch from wherever they go, and the recipes are there. And then it has different events I've done and my services and things like that. And then my email, what? Oh, my email is my full name. No, not me.
Right.
My email is my full name, Nancy Ferraris @me.com. If anybody has any questions, you want a recipe, get there. And then I post on Instagram and Facebook too. So I'm all over the place. A little bit of it.
Wonderful. That's very kind of you. And again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your inspiring insights and for all the information that we're getting. I've eaten much better since we've talked. I've been more aware and conscious of food. And I think everyone is as well that takes a look at these to really see not only how easy it is, but how accessible it is to have good health through Nancy's Nourishing Foods. So I appreciate it, and I hope you have a wonderful day, Nancy. And we're going to see you next week. I think we've got some more recipes on the horizon. Yes.
We do. So I haven't a plan for next week yet, but we always seem to come up with something. So we're good. The topic.
I'm always excited about it. So thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Perfect.
Right.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
Bye now.